complications during pregnancy can happen unexpectedly and quickly.
And one of those, called preeclampsia, can be deadly to both mom and baby. Now, it's a serious, potentially fatal high blood pressure disorder that can develop during or after pregnancy. It affects between 5 and 8% of pregnancies and most commonly occurs after 20 weeks, but it can develop sooner. Currently, there is no cure, medication, or treatment for someone with the disorder. The only cure is to deliver the baby. Many medical researchers have been working for decades to find a cause and a cure for the disorder.
And one of those researchers is with the University of Nebraska Medical Center in Omaha, which just got a big grant to continue that work. KTIV's Katie Koppel introduces us to her tonight.
It just fascinated me from the very early when I was really young and trying to really just provide clinical care. It's a very, very common deadly problem.
Dr. Sharosh Rana is a professor and chair of the University of Nebraska Medical Center Department of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and she has been studying preeclampsia for decades.
Preeclampsia is a disease that everybody has seen, especially if you're in Africa or in India or wherever, even in US. So it'll be massive change.
This pregnancy complication occurs worldwide.
And it's a very common cause of actually maternal death, as well as fetal death, mostly occurring in developing countries, but it's a pretty bad problem for pregnancy.
For those who develop preeclampsia early in their pregnancy, that can mean a preterm delivery.
So it's responsible for a large majority of preterm deliveries. So obviously preterm delivery is not the best outcome for the baby, but currently delivery is the only kind of end result for the mom.
Last month, Dr. Rana and her research team received a $4.7 million grant from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to further fund their research as they work on a groundbreaking treatment for preeclampsia.
Gates is great because they actually bring the entire structure when they fund you to move this forward.
Dr. Rana's team has spent many years researching the cause of preeclampsia, which has been linked to a specific protein.
So there are certain proteins that are high in people who have preeclampsia. Okay, and these proteins, for example, SFLT is a protein that has been shown almost pathogenic. That means it causes preeclampsia.
Her team has discovered a compound that can reduce the levels of that protein. Now this grant from the Gates Foundation will help move that research forward.
So they gave us a initial 2 years funding to just proof of concept to make sure it works. And we recently got a larger grant to see if the drug can actually have those PKPD. So those are studies to see what concentration of the drug is actually in the circulation. And then we're doing some tox studies to see if it's actually toxic.
The next goal, human clinical trials, with the end goal of narrowing in on the cause and a treatment for preeclampsia that can be used anywhere in the world. In Omaha, Nebraska, Katie Koppel, KTIV News 4.
Now, there are several other symptoms that can be present aside from high blood pressure. Always seek medical care if you do have concerns. And to read more about Dr. Rana's research, you can visit our website at ktiv.com.